I want you to think back to the last time a video game genuinely surprised you. Not just, oh, that's a pretty texture, surprised you. I mean a game that made you put the controller down and say, nobody has done this before. Take your time. I'll wait. Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? The video game industry is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. It employs some of the most technically talented people on the planet. It has more money, more tools, more computing power than any generation before it. And somehow, it is producing the most creatively bankrupt, embarrassingly fragile, and audience-insulting content in the medium's history. Let's talk about it. When Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard for $69 billion, a lot of people cheered. Maybe Phil Spencer will fix things, they said. Turns out he couldn't even fix Xbox, much less Activision. He's gone now. Here's the reality of spending $69 billion on anything. You don't take risks after that. You protect the investment. You play it safe. You do what's worked before. You make the thing that already sold slightly shinier, and you charge full price for it. Creative swings? Experimental design? No. You've got shareholders to answer to, and a $69 billion receipt on the fridge. The suits don't greenlight bold. The suits greenlight safe. And that mentality has infected the whole industry. Every major AAA release these days feels like something you've already played, just with a slightly different art style and a season pass. Open world checklist game number 47. Third-person cover shooter with a crafting system. Live service hero shooter featuring characters nobody asked for. We are past the point of running out of ideas. I don't know if creativity is dead or if we already thought of everything. What's particularly insulting is where the money and the dev time actually go. You want ray tracing? You got it. Photorealistic puddle reflections? Done. Hair physics on a character nobody will care about in 6 months? Absolutely. But gameplay that feels new, mechanics you've never seen before, a world that surprises you, that's apparently too hard. We'll give you 4K pores on the protagonist's face instead. Now I'll give credit where it's due. Arc Raiders is a good game. It's fun, it's polished, it runs well, and it became one of the biggest game launches of 2025, peaking at nearly 500,000 concurrent Steam players. But let's be honest about what it is. Escape from Tarkov has existed since 2017. It pioneered the extraction shooter genre. It is hardcore, punishing, and not for everyone. Arc Raiders looked at Tarkov and said, what if we took that formula and made it for people with jobs? And it worked. Good business decision. Nothing creative about it. Which brings me to the single most egregious example of creative cowardice in modern gaming. The poster child for intellectual bankruptcy disguised as a product. The game that has been the same game for over 15 years now and charges you $70 a year for the privilege of noticing. Call of Duty. You just watch that. Those are real skins, in a real game, that people paid real money for. I'll let that speak for itself. Call of Duty is not a game anymore. It is a content delivery mechanism designed to get you to open your wallet for COD points so you can dress your operator in a neon skin that would make a clown blush, wielding a weapon blueprint that shoots confetti. The gameplay? Irrelevant. The campaign? An afterthought. The real product is the battle pass, the bundles, and the store. And when they run out of ways to shake the coins out of your pocket, they crack open the nostalgia vault. Remember that map from Modern Warfare 2? It's back. Remember that gun you loved from Black Ops 2? It's back. Remember that zombies map you played after school from Black Ops 1? It's back. Again. That's not game development. That's grave robbing your own legacy. Pathetic. All right, creativity aside, let's talk about the other disease eating this industry alive. In recent years, a disturbing number of major releases have been greenlit, funded, and shipped to market by people who appear to have never met a gamer in their life. Games that seem to exist not to entertain an audience, but to validate a development team's internal culture. Games built in boardrooms by people who are afraid to criticize anything, including the product they're making. Take Dragon Age: The Veilguard. 10 years of development. EA had a major franchise with an established audience. They released a game in October 2024 that missed their own sales expectations by 50%, selling only 1.5 million copies when they needed closer to 3 million just to break even. BioWare had layoffs. The lead writer was let go. The director left. The studio is now in crisis. And EA's CEO's big takeaway was that maybe it should have been a live service game.
Whatever the reason, we made it through. And this time, no dragon escaped.
Thanks to Tosh.
That's why we recruited her.
Actually, Tosh uses them for themselves now.
They asked us to let folks know, so now you do.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you for telling me. That's why we recruited them.
Yeah, that's in the game. In a fantasy RPG. Because apparently some developers at BioWare felt it was critically important to pause a narrative about ancient gods destroying the world to give you a lesson. Funny how the pendulum only ever swings one way when it comes to whose politics get inserted into these products. Then there's Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. Warner Brothers took a $200 million loss on that game. $200 million. Rocksteady, the studio that gave us the Batman Arkham series, some of the best superhero games ever made, was handed an IP that fans loved, 7 years of development time, and a blank check. And what did they make? A live service looter shooter where you spend the whole game killing beloved DC heroes, including Batman, in one of the most disrespectful send-offs for Kevin Conroy's legacy anyone could have designed. The game peaked at 13,000 concurrent Steam players. Rocksteady had layoffs. A studio that earned its reputation over a decade, gutted in a single release. And Saints Row, the 2022 reboot. They took a franchise that built its identity on being outrageous, absurd, and unapologetically fun, and sanitized it into a lifeless, personality-free open-world game that somehow managed to feel both inoffensive and unpleasant to play at the same time. The original fan base rejected it immediately. It was so bad that Volition, the studio behind the franchise for 30 years, was shut down shortly after. But nothing, and I mean nothing, encapsulates this era of gaming failure better than Concord. Concord was a hero shooter published by Sony. It launched August 23, 2024. It was shut down September 6, 2024. 13 days. The game peaked at 697 concurrent players on Steam, 700 people, on launch weekend. For a AAA hero shooter that cost north of $200 million to develop. And that's before Sony's acquisition of Firewalk Studios, which they only bought because they thought Concord was going to be a mega hit. It was the second shortest-lived online game in history. Sony shut down the studio 2 months later. How do you spend $200 million on a game and get 697 players? You do it by surrounding yourself with people who will tell you it's great. You do it by building a culture where no one is allowed to say, "This character design is embarrassing," or "Why does this game exist in a market with Overwatch, Valorant, and Apex already in it?" You do it through toxic positivity, and that's not a phrase I'm making up. It's what Rocksteady employees used internally about their own studio's culture during Suicide Squad's development. It's a systemic failure of self-awareness. And Sony, the same company that greenlit this disaster, bought the studio behind it, and somehow didn't notice a problem until the game had 697 players, is the same company that makes the same sad dad walking simulator every other game, which is fine. God of War is well made, but maybe, just maybe, that studio should have had some input before you wasted $250 million on Concord. These developers are forcing their internal politics and social agendas into products that don't want them, and audiences that didn't ask for them, and it comes across as exactly what it is: embarrassing and cringe. Do these studios not understand who the majority of the gaming audience is? Do they think their customer base is going to sit still for lectures? The data says no. The sales numbers say no. The 697 players say no. And meanwhile, these same companies, the ones putting political messaging into their games, will hit you with a 1-week communication ban for saying a minor insult in a competitive FPS match. The content is filtered, the expression is policed, but the ideology gets a full cutscene. Gaming used to have an edge. It used to be irreverent. It used to not care what you thought of it. That's gone. And the audience that made this industry what it is has been told, in no uncertain terms, to sit down and be grateful. Now, before I get the comments telling me I just hate video games, I don't. I love this medium. I always have. And that's exactly why I'm sitting here at whatever hour this is telling you the truth about it. There have been genuinely exceptional games in recent years. Elden Ring, Helldivers 2, Baldur's Gate 3, and now Resident Evil Requiem, which is exactly what this industry should be making. A game that honors its legacy, takes it somewhere new, and reminds you why you fell in love with this hobby in the first place. These games deserve every piece of praise they get, because of how rare they've become. That's the tragedy. Not that great games don't exist, it's that they've become the exception in a generation that should be the best in history. With the technology available, with the talent available, with the money available, we should be in a golden age. Instead, we're in an era of corporate risk aversion, ideological overcorrection, nostalgia recycling, and live service exploitation. An era of 697 players and $200 million losses, and studios getting shut down because the people in charge convinced themselves that their audience would follow them anywhere. They won't. These publishers, these studios, these executives need to be held accountable for the slop they have been selling at full price. They need to be reminded that this audience built their industry. They need to understand that when you treat the customer like a wallet with opinions you need to manage, you end up with 697 players and a press release about lessons learned. I'm CloakCommentary. You know where to find me. Stay sharp.